Well, at the risk of jinxing everything, is this a really good season?
So far.
Yeah.
My God, Bones. What have I done?
What you had to do.
Hey guys, Alex and Dan from 7th Hour Films back again with Doctor Who Classic. Last time around we had The Mark of the Rani. What was that one about?
Well, one of the more interesting ones we've seen in a long while. The Doctor and Peri land in relatively medieval times, if I recall. No, not medieval. It was Industrial Revolution, sorry. So it's semi-historical. People are going crazy and nobody can figure out why. The original idea is that they're Luddites, they're anti-machinery people. It turns out the Rani, who is another rogue Time Lord, is draining the the calmness out of their bodies so that she can take it back to her planet and subdue the people that she's ruling over. But it gets interfered with by the Master, and then you have the three different Time Lords all fighting against each other. The Doctor meets the guy who improved the steam engine. Although, strangely enough, most history books credit James Watt with the ultimate perfection of the steam engine. But anyway, George Stephenson, I think, was the guy. And, of course, the Doctor thwarts the Master, and the Master thwarts the Rani, and the Rani thwarts the Doctor. It's just, anyway, it was a lot of fun. And especially seeing a female Time Lord who was not just, somebody in the background like the Chancellor or whoever it was when Borusa went berserk.
Yeah, so, it was very good. The Rani fits in very well with the Doctor and the Master, and the Sixth Doctor fits in well with the Master as well. And there were people that were turned into trees.
Yes, I forgot about that.
Poor souls. So yeah, overall, it was good.
Ain't that a birch?
Well, yeah. It was a good episode, and a good, it kept the season going with good episodes. Now, I hear mixed reception on this next one. This one is called The Two Doctors. This is 3 parts long, and we're going to just go ahead and blast through all 3 of them today. But yeah, I don't know. That's really all I hear, is that it's maybe mixed, maybe leaning towards poor, but that's about it. Other than that, I don't really hear specifics about this episode. So yeah, I guess it's pretty much that, unless we have anything else to say.
No, you may be wondering again why I've got the hoodie on. It has rained, and again, right at the freezing level, like 32 degrees Fahrenheit, 33 degrees Fahrenheit. Literally since last week. I mean, we have not seen the sunshine in a week here, and it's very depressing. But my show is in rehearsal. We open in 6 days, so everything's going well with that, so looking forward to it.
Yeah.
But it's cold.
Yeah. So, maybe we will be warmed by a good story.
Let's certainly hope so.
I don't know where I'm going with this analogy, so why don't we just go ahead and jump right into The Two Doctors.
All right.
Come here, Jamie. Look at that.
Oh, it was changed into
Size
color.
of that thing, Doctor. Jamie, don't go wandering off. Stay with me.
Do I ever?
It has been known. And let me do the talking. My companion is not for sale.
I promise you, Lord, no chef in the 9 planets would do more to bring out the flavor of the beast.
You get on with your butchery. Come along, Jamie.
He's dressed like a Scotsman, sort of.
Eh.
Doesn't recognize a fellow Scotsman.
I can just taste that.
Now, see, Scotland's from a different planet, actually. They moved there after a while.
You came to our inauguration, bearing fraternal greetings from Gallifrey.
Yes, yes. That was before I fell from favor. I'm a bit of an exile these days.
Yes, I heard something about that. But you still act on their instructions.
So this is after the War Games.
Needless to say, we've had no support.
Identify.
The approaching craft are Sontaran
Oh, no.
battle cruisers.
Sontarans.
Their intention is hostile.
The second Doctor never met the Sontarans.
I think I got a bite.
At last.
That's it, yes.
Oh, he's gonna fall in.
Did you see the one that got away? That magnificent gumbo jack that was trying to eat this poor little fellow.
Even if I wanted to, Doctor, I have...
I don't know if I have the
Water Professor's
the
card.
patience and the wherewithal for fishing.
We did try it once up at San Isabel Lake in Colorado. You didn't care for it.
You have more letters after your name than anyone I know. Enough for 2 alphabets. How is it you can be such a stupid, stubborn, irrational, and thoroughly objectionable old idiot?
And what are you studying at, you hairy-legged Highlander?
I'm just admiring your diplomatic skills.
We'll try our luck at the Great Lakes of Pandatoria.
Must we?
Oh, you've never seen such fish. And as for the Pandatorian Congo, it's longer than your railway trains.
Don't think I wish to know.
Let me
What is all this fishing stuff anyway?
It's restful, relaxing.
This is kind of the one time I'm with him. Even though I don't care for fishing, it's like, why is she complaining about fishing?
What are pen galaxies?
Oh, they're galaxies within the universe of the atom. Difficult to study. They only exist for 1 attosecond.
Doctor, I have no idea what that means.
You ever seen Men in
Means
Black?
You have to be quick.
Meanwhile,
In Seville.
The creature's bones are dry and brittle.
I sensed it was very old, but its mind will be of use. Bring it through.
You carry it, Val.
I do not take orders from civilians.
his mask is very hit and miss.
This region of the planet is called Andalusia. We are 4 kilometers from the city of Seville.
I know my architecture.
Good call.
In some ways, Shakaya the Quonsing Greg, you are a complete primitive yourself.
You only say that, Shassini, because of the foreign alien filth injected into you by Dastari. But come what may, you are an Andragam.
We already had
Never
this
lose sight
conversation.
of your horizons.
Yeah.
I can see what they mean about mixed reactions. It seems very slow.
Yeah. I feel like we're gonna say at the end of this could have easily been 2 parts.
See?
Some of these pumping systems are very old. There's bound to be the odd wheeze.
Well, it's the fiercest pump I ever heard.
There's something down here with us, Perry. Do you know, I wish I could remember what that blue line serves.
Sure, Perry. Just don't climb down out of his ability to save you. I didn't really know that was Andalusia, but it does have that southern Spanish architecture from when what used to be called the Moors came up across from the Straits of Gibraltar. They still don't look as good as the first ones.
No.
It landed over that way somewhere. We ought to go and see. Somebody might need help.
Oh, I do hope not. I can't bear the sight of gory entrails. Well, except, of course, on the stage.
It's Dastari.
Well, yeah. I think they're carrying the Doctor.
Please, Anita.
The monster's Jamie, isn't it?
That's what I was thinking.
Doctor!
There. That should just about have done it. Hurry!
Oh.
Let's see who Chesini is. Jacqueline Pierce. That doesn't sound familiar. She looks very familiar, though.
Okay.
All right, so we have the story of the Second Doctor. We have the story of Dastari and Chesini and the Androgams, and now we have the Sontarans, and now we have Oscar and Anita, and Jamie, we're thinking, is the monster.
Yeah.
So, several very disparate parts, and again, very, very slow getting to it. I mean, it's an interesting story, but you were definitely right. This could have been compacted into a much shorter space of time.
Yeah. Maybe it's even something like, in the old days this would have been 6 episodes. Maybe they only had enough for 5. So, but because of the format, they just were like, well, we'll just have to extend some of it to make 3 parts.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's good to have them back. It's good to have the Second Doctor and Jamie back. It's also interesting that this does seem to be post-War Games Second Doctor, which is interesting. I know there have been theories about that he doesn't regenerate immediately, and instead they hold off on that, and the Time Lords have him do various jobs. This seems to be that.
Off the books, because he even said, they can. It's deniable plausibility.
Yeah.
Plausible deniability.
That's it. I wasn't going to question you, but yeah, so it's an interesting concept, and I know there's another theory that there's possibly another hidden regeneration between the Second Doctor and the Third Doctor that also kind of does work for the Time Lords and other stuff that is,
And yet, in the 3 Doctors and the 5 Doctors, none of that ever appears.
Yeah.
The first Doctor says, I've been replaced by a clown and a dandy.
Yeah. So, I mean, the thing I would assume on that, and I mean, and we don't need to go too far into that because it's more of a modern Doctor Who invention, but I think the idea is that the Time Lords, or this sort of like larger organization than even the Time Lords, basically, I would assume, just grant the Doctor 1 extra regeneration, because the Doctor forgets about that version of themselves. So if it is between the Second and Third Doctor, they wipe the Doctor's memories of that regeneration and then just give them 1 extra one so that the count keeps going as it would be. So that's at least the theory. But at least here we have the Second Doctor doing these sort of jobs for the Time Lords.
Yeah.
Which, I mean, it's an interesting thought too, because, this also brings up oh, well, the Time Lords are specifically having the Second Doctor go do these missions on their behalf, where, yes, they have the plausible deniability and everything, but it's interesting that if that's the case, that's all the Second Doctor is doing at this point. It's hilarious that even after he finally does regenerate and, becomes the Third Doctor, they still have him do that anyway, because they send, the Fourth Doctor to Skaro in Genesis of the Daleks. There was, what was it at the beginning of this season? It was the attack of the Cybermen, where it's like, oh, maybe the Time Lords sent the Sixth Doctor unknowingly to make sure that Mondas still is destroyed in the 80s. So,
the flaw in that theory, at least the obvious one to me, is Jamie's memory was also wiped.
Yes.
So why would they allow him to go back and unwipe Jamie's memory, let him continue with him, and then at the end go back and wipe his memory again?
I would assume it's just that they never wiped his memory to begin with. And I guess this would also explain why it gives a good reason as to why the two of them look so much older, is that presumably they have been, traveling for another 15 years or so since the War Games. And so, yeah, I assume it's just that, and maybe the second Doctor, maybe they weren't even going to let him have Jamie, but maybe the second Doctor, made a big stink. I must have a companion, and it has to be Jamie. You notice there's no Zoe in this. Zoe immediately got her memory. Yeah.
Or was that Victoria?
No, they mentioned Victoria. Yeah. But yeah, so I'm assuming Zoe was immediately lost her memories. The only other thing is because they do show Jamie once he gets back to where he was, and the only continuity thing would be, obviously when they shot that, he was still a young man. So unless the Time Lords de-aged him too, which I guess is not out of the realm of possibility, but it's an interesting idea, especially having it being after the War Games specifically. So, and I guess this could also explain when the Time Lords take the second Doctor for the three Doctors. Like, maybe that was also another post-War Games story. I don't know. But it's the most interesting thing in the episode. The rest of it is a pretty standard... Not even standard, it's just sort of a slow-paced Sixth Doctor episode. Yeah. Which, I can't even say that's a typical Sixth Doctor episode, because the previous 3 episodes have been really, really good. Yeah.
Now, here's, again, I haven't seen part 2 and 3 yet, but that entire, at least 5 minutes of the Doctor and Peri fishing, unless that comes back somewhere later in the episodes, that is just pure padding. Unless he somehow figures out some way to, get out of some predicament that they're in or something with a fishing line and a hook. That becomes very obvious padding then.
Yeah. I don't mind it as much because they kind of did the same thing with the 5 Doctors, where they were at, what was it, the Eye of Orion or something, and it was him, it was Tegan, it was Turlough, and they were all they were relaxing, and then the story is that, well, all the other Doctors have been taken out of time, so the 5th Doctor starts to feel that effect. And so I kind of get it here, and also it's just an interesting thing of they actually went and did something that's not hectic, Yeah. Maybe it lasted a little bit, a little long, but I would say the real padding is everything with Shockeye. I'm not entirely sure the purpose of this character, other than, I guess we can't call him a cannibal because he does want to eat other species, not his own. Yeah. But other than that, he's got the whole, you're not a real
androgum,
and it's okay, so that's an interesting thing. But at the same time, I'm kind of sitting here okay, there's a lot of scenes with this guy, and none of them are that interesting. So
now, I'm trying to figure out the origin of the word androgum. I mean, obviously, andro or andros is part of human technology or human biology, because android is the artificial human. So androgum. Again, I'm hoping they will explain that at some point here.
Yeah. So, well, it's also just an interesting thing with what was it, Dastari, or was that the guy, the professor that they went to? Yeah, Dastari. It's interesting because he seems to imply he's not one of them, and we never see all the other scientists that are at this place. So this guy just happened to choose this species to augment a species that seems to be, in Shockeye's eyes at least, more advanced than, a human, but now they're being augmented. I don't know. It's an interesting thing. And I will say it's sort of a half and half on the argument with the time travel, because on the one hand, it's okay, the Time Lords, are they, do they have the justification and everything? On the other hand, what the Doctor says is right. It's the ramifications to the timeline and everything could be terrible. So, I don't know, it's an interesting sort of back and forth, but I do kind of lean more towards what the Doctor was saying. But maybe that's because it's the Doctor saying it. The Time Lords are probably just thinking, no, we can't have anyone else have time travel, and if we can, stamp it down, we will. Obviously, they can't stamp down the Cybermen or the Daleks, at least not very easily. So, but it's like they're probably looking at it more, I guess, selfishly, but I do at least agree with the Doctor.
Yeah.
So, all right. And that's just the beginning. I wonder who came up with this idea to bring Troughton back. Because it's not like it's an anniversary year or anything.
Yeah.
Oh, it can't be Jamie. He's wearing pants.
Borum gas. An ordinary person would have been unconscious for hours.
So would you if I had dragged you clear of it.
No. I closed my respiratory passages as soon as I detected any danger.
Well, then how did you breathe?
With difficulty. I'll explain one day.
Probably has gills.
In his feet.
I keep thinking, how can my feet smell if they don't have a nose?
We should summon the authorities. Competent official people trained in the tying of bandages.
We search. There may be people bleeding to death at this very moment.
I'm not a well man.
Now, I will be honest, her accent is very authentic, so it's nice to know that they found someone who actually sounds like they speak Castilian Spanish.
Doctor?
He's not the doctor I know.
I am so, Jamie McCrimmon. I am another aspect of him, just as he is of me.
Hey?
I was him, he will be me.
Who will I be?
Harry.
I am the Eggman, you are the Walrus.
So that's how you control the TARDIS. Symbiosis.
If the Sontarans ever get unlimited access to time travel, they'll be invincible. We must find out where they're holding me.
How can we do that? It could be anywhere.
I thought the Sontarans could already time travel.
Minds. Any kind of contact might sever the astral link and kill me.
How long will you be?
No. Seconds? Hours? Days? Who knows? There's no such thing as time on the astral plane.
I think your doctor's worse than mine.
Boing.
What?
Bells, my dear! Bells! Come on, there isn't a moment to lose.
Where are we going?
I can't remember. Something to do with getting my hair cut. No.
The Barber of Seville. The Sontarans have time travel, but not the symbiotic relationship with their time machine. Rats.
He calls humans primitive.
At least, cook it, man.
All of our chefs sample the raw flavor of ingredients before even heating their cooking pots.
Smoke dried. It might just be tolerable.
Rat jerky.
Boing. Better for your change of clothes and bath. Should try it more often.
Thank you. What?
When you've been locked in as many dungeons as I have, you wouldn't fail to recognize it. Well, you ready?
For what?
Transference.
Well, she had the right idea.
Augmented animal. Oh, I don't think much of the company you keep, Dastari.
Attention! Group Marshal Strike of the 9th Sontaran Attack Group.
Stand at ease.
We already were, Stike. And tell that underling of yours not to shout every time you appear.
Isn't that incredible? Police! And they say they're never there when you need them.
Oscar, it doesn't say policia.
Interpol, my dear. Roaches everywhere.
Oscar! You are a fool.
You are an irresponsible old fool! The Androgams are barbarians! Release
to time, and every civilized people in the galaxy will curse your name. Do you hear me? Oh, my giddy aunt. Oh, crumbs.
I mean, I certainly wouldn't want to send Shakai into time.
Release me, Strike. You are not only without honor, you're a coward as well.
No one calls me chicken.
Not a Sontaran, Doctor.
I want to believe he intentionally left his coat so that the second Doctor wouldn't ridicule him.
You wonder if those are actual locations somewhere in Spain.
What have you got there?
Many beasts are bred especially for taming. They are force-fed to improve the flesh, and penned in small confined quarters to fatten more rapidly. It's fascinating.
Anti-corporate farming message there.
Perry already has enough trauma of creeps.
I want you to collect Oscar and get off the estate as fast as you can. Anita, goodbye.
Good luck.
Oh.
Have you ever eaten a Sontaran?
Certainly not.
No, nor have I. They always seem so tough and tasteless.
Cannibal humor.
I don't know. You mash them up, put a little gravy, maybe a little salt.
We're not going after them.
Let's have a good look round here first.
But there's only two of them.
Yeah,
We can
one of
easily-
them is an androgam, Jamie. Could break us both in half with one hand.
We're getting a lot of lore on the androgams.
Take him through.
See, all he needs is a little bell and then he can communicate.
He has had rather a tiring time lately.
You might run faster if you didn't have so much crap on your belt.
She might run faster if she wasn't in heels.
Yeah.
Pretty, pretty. Yeah, my pretty one.
And she needs like some pepper spray with her. This keeps happening to her.
That or a swift kick where the sun don't shine.
Well, yeah. Well, hopefully the man of men, Oscar, can show up and help. So,
well, again, it's an interesting story, but it's just incredibly slow.
Yeah, honestly, and there's not enough of the second Doctor. And that's kind of the appeal of the episode.
And he was never usually that... What's the word? He's screaming a lot. You know, he was usually much more subtle than that.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it's...
I wonder if they list the other Doctor.
Yeah, they do.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. I mean, it's good to see... Like, I like the interaction with Jamie and Perry and the Sixth Doctor. Like, that's really good. But, yeah, otherwise, it's like, there's not... I don't know. And because it's not a thing of like, oh, well, we need the second Doctor because, you know, the Sixth Doctor can't hold his own. No, he obviously can. But the whole point of this was to have the second Doctor. Because even something like the Five Doctors, where they were pretty much split up most of the time, they always had someone with them and they were doing something, you know? So the second Doctor would have the Brigadier, the third Doctor had Sarah Jane, the fourth Doctor wasn't there, so that cleared that up. And then, you know, the first and fifth Doctors were together at least. So yeah, here it's like, well, we have to go save the second Doctor, but that means we just can't use him that much. So hopefully that's fixed in part 3, but I don't know.
Wonder if it is Oscar that saves Perry, that he'll put the butterfly net over the guy's head.
Maybe. His head might be too big, though. I will say everything with the androgams is weird. Like, the Doctor's, I guess, distaste, I guess that's a good way of putting it, his distaste for the Androgums. Like, I guess I understand, you know, him not wanting them to get unlimited time travel, but I don't know, like, just, you know, the wording of it, like, you know, they're barbarians and everything, it's like, okay, that's an interesting thing for the Doctor to say, but I'm also kind of looking at it as, like, they don't seem to be, honestly, any different from humans. Like, you know, they just seem to be, like, maybe 1,000 years past where humans are now. So maybe that's it, is that, you know, the Doctor would probably say the same thing about humans, honestly. So,
well, I'm guessing that he's thinking that in their evolutionary process that he's watched by calling them barbarians, he's not saying that they're, you know, like Stone Age or you know, Dark Ages or anything like that, but where they progress in their timeline, even if they are ahead of human beings, they still are very, not necessarily militaristic, but they rely on violence. They eat other people, including, I think he said, they even tried their own. He said, you know, why don't humans eat themselves? You know, you're top of the food chain, you should try that. So I think it's simply a matter of the Doctor's disgust at how their civilization has not advanced beyond the barbarian stage.
Well, yeah. Because at least with the Time Lords, and there's a lot of problems with the Time Lords, which every episode acknowledges, but, I mean, even with the Time Lords, you know, they have the policy of non-interference. They're so far ahead of everyone else that they've basically just sort of been set in their ways, you know? Yeah. Like, yeah, they'll do some stuff that's questionable, or they'll send the Doctor to do something, but yeah, like, I guess it's a difference of, do they have active plans for time travel? Like, the Time Lords seem to, like, if there was no other species in all of existence, the Time Lords probably wouldn't time travel at all, even with the secret. They seem to just use time travel to make sure nothing goes wrong, as they find it to be wrong. Whereas, you know, the Androgums, the Daleks, the Sontarans, they would all use time travel for personal gain. Yeah. So.
Oh, steady, my little beauty. Come to Shokai.
Scratch his eyes out.
Sontaran might is invincible.
I miss Jamie.
Set the craft to self-destruct. To leave no one alive here.
You have a little bit of a beard.
Either that or a Thanos chin. Part gun, part battle axe.
And none of it efficient.
Shepherd's pie. Shepherd's pie. A shepherd. Can't we walk quicker?
Ugh.
My space.
Well, that's definitely Seville. That's not somewhere in England. Couple of hobos.
Personally, I have never seen the necessity for starting a meal with what was your word? Order. Yeah, quite unnecessary, in my opinion. 8 or 9 main dishes are quite enough, in my opinion. But on this planet, it is the custom.
That's the American way.
Chefs Brive, Parema, pâté de foie gras de Strasbourg on food, for instance, or a serving of Baylor oysters.
I'm starving, by the way. And I don't need any of the crap he just said.
If this ends in a food fight, we may be done with Doctor Who.
Oh. Man, just freaking die already. Like, why are you gonna take for... Oh, there it goes.
Oh, it's Oscar.
Welcome to
Oh yeah, because he has the restaurant.
How delightful. Do you serve humans here?
Most of the time, sir.
Yes,
Yes, yes, I'm all right. For the moment.
This could easily have been 2 episodes.
Yep.
Mind you, there seems to be more places to eat in this town. You'd find fleas in a dog.
Dog?
Where?
Your whining impudicity has acidized my digestive juices.
Well, that was gratuitous.
Right. It was just a little cut. He's fine.
I fear this is Botcherby's last curtain call. No one will ever see my definitive Hamlet now.
We will.
Well, that was totally unnecessary.
Vaporized his spacecraft and himself. Yeah, I found this.
His
He
leg.
survived the chloronic acid.
Oh, what's the idea, Doctor?
Push it over towards him.
Well, why? He's not going anywhere.
No. That's it.
Yeah, I feel like the subtitles should label them as Doctor 2 and Doctor 6.
This will only take a few minutes, madam. I thought we could have the saddle and the haunches for supper.
Never mind that now, Shockeye. I want that Time Lord found.
People are getting saved by a lot of plot conveniences. This is getting weirder.
Come on, Perry, it's time we were off.
Jacini wants me to kill you.
Kick him.
Basically, they chloroform him.
Oh, finally, he's using his big sword.
Now, they killed the moths. I don't know that it'll kill Shockeye. Oh! Oh, bad idea.
I wanted it to just be like an egg in a microwave. Oh, it kind of was.
A Staten Island remote control? Where did you get that? I've always wanted one of those.
Some of us have earned these little privileges.
Doctor, we're not going fishing again, are we?
No. From now on, it's a healthy vegetarian diet for both of us.
You know, before this part, I thought, okay, you know, some editing genius out there, or me, someone could take these 3 episodes, edit them into a nice movie, about kind of like the 5 Doctors. Yeah. Edit it into a nice movie. It'll be nice, decently paced, good. And then we watched part 3, and that all just kind of went downhill. And you know, I jinxed it. I jinxed it because last episode I said, you know, these 3 episodes have been really good. This has been a really good season so far, and we now definitively have the worst multi-Doctor story ever written.
Again, Robert Holmes is such a great writer. He's done such good stuff before. What I suspect happened is he wrote a story, it was turned over, and then the script editors went back in and essentially, you know, mutilated it.
Maybe.
Because of the 45 minutes of this episode, 25 minutes of it was total padding. You know, it just kind of flattens out so badly. The destruction of the Sontaran ship and Stike dying does not give him the death that he deserved.
No.
Her killing Dastari kind of makes sense, and then her death blowing up in the machine kind of makes sense. But Oscar, there's absolutely no reason for Oscar to have died.
I kept waiting because they were lingering on it, and the two doctors are being goofballs in the background. I kept waiting for him to just kind of get up and just be like, oh, I guess it's not that bad of a cut, because it was not that bad of a cut.
No, although it was in the region of his heart. It's a little low, but yeah.
But so I kept waiting for him to get up, and maybe just say it's like, oh, even unwillingly, I am an incredible actor or something.
Not dead.
Yeah,
like Mark Anthony. Oh man, what a disappointment!
I can't believe this is the episode that gives us the theories and expanded continuity of the Doctor post-war games. Because that's really rough. And again, it's like, because the two of them are still good. The second Doctor and Jamie, like, they're still good. They're just clearly given nothing to work with.
Yeah. And I mean, on top of everything else, Jamie's costume, his outfit, the huge sash, I don't even know what to call that, was nothing like he ever really wore originally. Where did the Doctor find clothes that look like his in the old hacienda there that Shockeye could then wear, so that the two of them both looked like hobos, unless he went back to his TARDIS and got them?
No, because he didn't have his TARDIS there. I'm presuming it was the husband of the old woman who lived there kept his clothes for all these years, and it just happened to fit Shockeye. What a terrible character Shockeye is. Like,
but I mean, theoretically speaking, there was something that could have been done with that character, but instead they, again, just let him go to the extreme, at which point you really kind of go, well, he's just a pathetic character.
Yeah.
And he deserves everything that he gets.
Like, there's nothing to him other than his stomach. That's really it. And
at the end there, again, we know that Oscar said he killed the moths. So what we're saying here is the Doctor deliberately killed Shockeye. Now, he said he had been mothballed, but if he did not kill him, which is more in line with what the Time Lords believe, then you left Shockeye on Earth to run around trying to cook and eat people.
Well, then he's got to be dead.
So he's got to be, yeah.
Because the Doctor wouldn't leave him there.
Yeah, and that makes, I mean, if he had essentially knocked him out and then dragged him back so that, he could be taken away and sent back to the Androgon planet or whatever, that would make more sense. Haul him off with the second Doctor and Jamie and say, send him back to his planet where he'll just be one among millions. But yeah, none of that makes any sense whatsoever. And somebody like Robert Baker, who has worked on previous Doctor stories, should have known that. Not Robert Holmes. Sorry,
yeah.
Looking at Colin Baker there.
Yeah.
So this, I mean, seriously, it is just a mess of a story and breaks so many of the traditions, so much of the continuity of Doctor Who going all the way back to Hartnell that, I mean, seriously, this should not even be considered canon.
And it's kind of ironic that with last episode we talked about, how well Colin Baker fit in, with Anthony Ainley, which is a good measuring of his Doctor, and how well the Ronnie fit in with the dynamic of the Doctor and the Master. And then in this, there's really no dynamic to speak of between the second and sixth Doctor, when there should be. It's like we should have had something, because and especially with the second Doctor, that's an important thing to get down because he's now had, 2 adventures technically with the Third Doctor, and that's such an iconic, legendary duo, especially in the Three Doctors. And it's not Colin Baker's fault. It's not Patrick Troughton's fault. They were given nothing to do. Like, the only thing, like, at the very least, like, the Second Doctor becoming an androgum, that's stupid. It's incredibly stupid. But Troughton plays it really well. Like, he plays the comedy of it, but it's stupid.
There's just not a whole lot to say here. I mean, this is astoundingly bad. And it's astoundingly bad because it could have been so much better.
Yeah.
There is a thread of storyline here that could have been very good. Like you said, if you went back to these 3 episodes and edited it down, I think, well, except for the Shakai and the Doctor going off to the feasting and the killing of Oscar, that just shouldn't have happened.
But even that, if you cut out the 10 minutes of walking through Seville, then it would have at least gone through it quicker.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's like if you had cut... You literally have to cut an entire episode's length. Cut this down to a 2-parter, and it would be okay. It's still, of the 3... So we've had 3 multi-Doctor stories now. We've had the 3 Doctors, the 5 Doctors, and now the 2 Doctors. It would still be the worst. And I don't know. It's amazing now watching this and realizing there is a definitive worst when it comes to multi-Doctor stories. So let's see. Although, no, I'm gonna say this is worse than Dimensions in Time because at least that got out in 30 minutes. So, and it's all that's also not canon at least, so it doesn't really matter. But so we've had the 3 Doctors, the 5 Doctors, the 2 Doctors, Dimensions in Time, if you want to count that. I don't think anyone does.
Day of the Doctor.
Yeah, the 50th, the Day of the Doctor. And that, which that's kind of what I'm thinking because I remember, I think there's a small, they're vocal, but it's a small group of people that did not like the 50th anniversary. And I think, like, the main thing is, like, well, they don't bring back all the Doctors, which at 50 years, that wasn't a possibility, really. And it's like, well, it's really just a story about the 11th Doctor and the 10th Doctor, and also you get the War Doctor and stuff. But honestly, because I think those are people who just they never cared for modern Doctor Who. It was classic all the way. They never liked anything in modern Doctor Who. And now I'm sitting here like, the gall you have to say that when this existed. Like, you can't do that. But
is there any notes we haven't already covered? I mean,
I don't know. See, I don't know how long this video is going to be because we had 3 parts, but we didn't talk for most of them because there was nothing to really comment on. So, I mean, okay, why is it, and this isn't solely on this episode, but why is it that Doctor Who doesn't know what to do with the Sontarans anymore? Like, that first episode, The Time Warrior, is a great episode.
Yes.
And it only had a Sontaran, but it was that mixed with the, the medieval aspect of it. That was also a great episode to introduce Sarah Jane. And that's such a great episode, and they've never been able to get the Sontarans right after it. I'm not even sure why the Sontarans were here. Like, it's because, like, neither of these Doctors have faced the Sontarans before. So, I don't know. I don't really get the point when you could have had any other race there. Warrior race, or just some goons, basically. Like, there was really no point in them being Sontarans. because Dastari and Cecchini were the main villains, and what boring villains they were too. Like, you know, they talk about this whole thing of, you know, she's been elevated to a higher plane with her intelligence and everything. Nothing really comes of that. Like, and especially too because they make sure to note she didn't progress their time travel as far as it is. Like, it was those two other scientists that the Sontarans killed, and then, but Cecchini is just as good, I guess. I don't know. I don't know. And the fact that the entire time we have to watch Shockeye, which I don't understand what they were doing with this character. It's like, okay, you know, he's supposed to be the normal version of the Androgum who still believes that he is a higher being, but I don't like they tried to do this whole thing of like tradition versus, I guess, progress, you could say, but all of that boiled down to I want to eat person, and it never really went anywhere other than, you know, slapping a couple orange eyebrows onto Patrick Troughton and putting him out in Spain, you know? So
do they usually show the director in the credits? Let's see who might have done this.
Who's responsible for this?
Yeah. We usually never get this far into the theme either.
Well,
yeah, this Eric Saward, I think he somehow took, there's a producer. Peter Moffat. Again, Moffat and Saward, or Soward, whatever, however his name is pronounced. I suspect they took Robert Holmes' script and just butchered it.
We've technically had that before with, like, Destiny of the Daleks. It says it's written by Terry Nation, but people were saying he gave, like, a vague outline, and then someone else came in and actually wrote the script, which is hilarious because it really feels like a Terry Nation script. But yeah, I could see that kind of being the case here. I don't know. I just feel like, and also just the randomness of, in the middle of the 22nd season, we're just gonna bring back Patrick Troughton for some reason. Don't know why, but just felt like it. He was up for it. Brought back Jamie too, and
there was no specific reason for Seville. I mean, it could have been set in the English countryside or Scotland.
Yeah,
because again, they dressed Shockeye in somewhat of a tartan and a tam. So, I mean, seriously, did they just say, "Hey, we'd like to get away. Let's film in Spain. Let's go to Andalusia"? It just, again, very little of this makes sense. There's a germ of a story in here that's very good, but it is just drowned with all of the garbage that's around it.
Yeah. So that's unfortunate. I guess because we, not to keep harping on the twin dilemma, but is this worse than the twin dilemma? The characters themselves are all fine.
I would say yes. Again, from a director's standpoint, because this had a decent storyline, it had a decent premise that was then just hacked to pieces by either the director or the script editor or somebody, so that it's just it's unfortunate. There was a good story in here that went nowhere.
It's so long. Like, I don't know, like, it's so long, and I know this is a talking point nowadays of, like, how long movies are getting.
Yeah.
And I understand both sides of the argument of, how long a movie should be. I generally tend towards you could probably get your story told in 2.5 hours at the max. On the other hand, you do get some movies that justify the length. Oppenheimer, I hear that 3.5 hour Martin Scorsese film he put out is really good. I don't know how anyone sits in a theater for 3.5 hours, but...
Well, don't forget here, too, that this was broadcast in 3 separate weeks.
Yeah, but see, that almost makes it worse. Because you're watching this week to week, and it's just like... And again, it's great to see Patrick Troughton and Fraser Hines, but that's all you're really getting out of it, It's the same old thing. Even... I will say this also carries on the only slight problem I have with this era of Doctor Who is Perry's, though mostly justified, constant complaining. And it's a lot. And again, I say there is a lot of justification for it. But even at the beginning of this episode, it's like, why are you complaining so much about fishing? You are not being creeped on by some dude yet. You'll get to that later in the story. You're not dying 8 times. You're not being transformed into a bird. Like, I don't know what her problem was. So it's just, what do we do with Perry? Perry complains,
Yeah.
What do we do with Jamie? He stabs people. That was at least nice.
Yeah.
It's nice to get that back a bit.
Again, that's the fact that, Jamie is a Highlander. He is somebody who knows combat, who knows battle. So in getting away from Stike by stabbing him in the leg, that seemed to be justifiable.
Yeah. Honestly, if that's the only thing to take away from this episode is that Jamie is still the best companion. Because, you notice they didn't actually explain regeneration to him at all. It's just... oh, I'm the Doctor, and he's also the Doctor. He's my past self, and that's all he really says about it. And Jamie either just completely accepts it, or he just doesn't care enough. He's just like, it'll either make sense or it won't.
Well, everything the Doctor does doesn't make sense, so he just goes with it, I think.
Yeah. It's like the adaptability of Jamie is amazing, because how many times... has the Doctor told Perry, I'll explain it later, and it not get explained later? So, I don't know. I miss Jamie. This does make me miss the second Doctor's era, because I miss a good episode. So, moving on. Time Lash. Time Lash is what we've got next. And just to confirm... it's a nice 2-parter, and then the end of the season. Jeez, all right, we're already getting close to the end of this season. Oh, I'm hoping that this is just a rare occurrence, and that the rest of this season is really good.
Now, I think several of the commenters have told us next season is like his one extended story.
Something like that. I think it's technically... it's kind of like the Key to Time arc, where it's like, it is technically multiple stories, but they are all given one through line story. So I'm excited for that. I hear a lot of good things about that season. So we at least have that to look forward to, and we have this to never look back on. Except I have to sit through it again when I edit it.
So sorry. I don't have to sit through it again. I don't edit.
Yeah. But you do watch the episodes.
Yeah.
So, but they're all nice in a nice edited compact form, and it's probably compact enough because I doubt I kept a lot of this. And with all of that, and that was a lot being said, we're Alex and Dan from 7th Hour Films, and we will see you guys next time. Take care. Alright guys, thanks for watching this video. There's a bunch of links on screen if you want to go click around any of those. There's a playlist with all of our Doctor Who classic reactions, with all of the better ones. There's also a playlist for all of my modern Doctor Who reactions if you want to go check those out. There's also a subscribe button and a Patreon button on screen, as well as other links in the description if you want to go check out any of those. See you guys later.